So, Civil Wars Part 2. I really liked Part 1, but this one feels like more of a mixed bag, and ultimately I think it comes down to the writing. Between Part 1 and Part 2, there seems to be this really awkward trade-off between, do you want this amazingly captivating dialogue, or do you want the story to get the fuck on with itself? Yes, they finally reveal that Unalaq is the bad guy, and Korra finally nuts up and does something about it, but how clunky was this whole thing? I think the biggest problems with this episode are illustrated by the trial scene, and you know what part I'm talking about. Even if there is some shady business going on, even if Korra is the Avatar, I don't believe for a second that she could just threaten to kill a judge in a courtroom surrounded by witnesses without there being any consequences. It's not even like there's any question about it. She straight up says, "I'm going to kill you," and the judge just looks at her for a second and goes, "Meh, I'm sorry, that's just bullshit." The ANY pony recently said that this was a good change as he felt that Korra had been regressing from the beginning of Season 1, going from an action taker to sitting around doing nothing. On this particular issue, I respectfully disagree. At the beginning of the series, Korra had a very simple worldview. Okay, more of a simple worldview. She saw everything as being good or evil, and you defeat evil by punching it really, really hard. Over the course of the series, I feel like she's been learning more about political maneuvering and watching to see how things play out before taking action. Though granted, I think there are a lot of times that the concept could be handled better, but in a lot of ways, I feel like this is more of a regression, going from patiently observing the situation to flat out threatening to murder someone. And no, I'm not talking about the Naga interrogation scene. That scene was actually done well. It was clever, Korra's intentions were clear, and it was smart because she cornered the guy in private. It's like the episode was arguing with itself about how to handle the situation. Anyway, hopefully now that they're done crowbarring the story into place, Korra's segments will get better next time. That being said, I still had a lot of fun with the side stories. I still enjoy everything at the Air Temple with Tenzin's family. I'm still not a big fan of the thing between Eska and Bolin, and the ending with Eska didn't really make much sense. I always figured that she was just toying with Bolin, so it seems strange that she would take his escape attempt that personally. But I do appreciate that they're still playing it for comedy, and they don't even try to explain it beyond saying that she's just fucking crazy. Plus, it sets up that great ending with Varric. I have to say, Varric is quickly becoming one of my favorite new characters on the show. From starting out as a bumbling eccentric to hilariously fussing over his money in a way that I haven't seen since Scrooge McDuck, to now just becoming the Tony Stark of the Avatar universe. Yes, they do go for some toilet humor with the platypus bear, which I so wanted to be a platypus bunny, and apparently even Doug Walker noticed the same thing. But here's why it works here as opposed to, say, with Milo. I hate Milo, by the way. He's absolutely the Scrappy-Doo of the series. The reason fart bending feels like such an insult is because there's no reason for it to even exist. If you could do the exact same thing by pointing your hand at someone, then fart bending only shows that Milo is a disgusting little kid and you wanted to include a fart joke by any means possible. Meanwhile, the pooping money gag did serve a purpose. If Varric's assistant is in the back end of the outfit and they want it to look convincing, then naturally that's going to be the closest opening for her to push anything out. Plus, the whole point of it later in the episode was to distract people, which it did. So it actually has a practical purpose in addition to being ridiculously silly. And actually, that pretty much describes Varric as a character. He's silly, but he gets shit done. All of his crazy antics are actually working towards something. When his boat speeds off at the end, you can practically hear the Looney Tunes theme playing, but you want to see that and it makes you root for him that much more. So yeah, this episode was all over the place, but it ended well, and I'm looking forward to the next episode. Hopefully we'll get to see a lot more new stuff happening.